suffering.
All right, guys.
For me, that
an hour or
is.
two of.
Yeah. Right. Profit and loss statement. So, the income statement summarizes a company's revenues, costs, and expenses over a reporting period to show its profitability. Then it starts with top line revenue, which are sales and income. Then you deduct the cost of goods that are being sold, which leads to gross profit. Then you deduct operating expenses, which lead to oh, okay. Operating expenses, which lead to that would be a disaster. Operating expenses, which lead to what do operating expenses lead to? If you do not prepare, then okay, yes, the earnings before interest and taxes. Then you deduct the non-operating expenses, which is cover non-operating items. Okay, which are interests, investments, and one-offs. And then you get the income before taxes. So then you deduct the taxes, and then you end up with the net income. So, for example, if company's revenue is $200 and the cost of goods is $80, and you deduct it, you get $120. Then of the non-operating items, the cost of non-operating items in this case is $50. You deduct that, and then 120 minus 50 is $70, which is your income before interest and taxes. So then you deduct the operating, so first operating expenses, then the non-operating items, almost. The non-operating items, which are interest costs and one-offs. In this case, they're only $5. So then 70 minus 5 is 65. And that is income before tax. If tax is 20%, then it's $13. So 65 minus 13 is $52. And that would be your net income. Okay. So one more time. So net income is, so the profit and loss statement is also an income statement, which summarizes the company's costs, revenues, costs, and expenses for a certain period of time. To show its profitability. Okay. So you start with the revenue, or the top line revenue, which are sales and income, and then you deduct the cost of goods produced, which gives the gross profit, and then you deduct the costs of these, what are these called? The cost of the operating expenses. The operating expenses, which are costs for selling, administrative costs, and R&D. And then you get the earnings before interest and taxes, after which you further deduct the non-operating items, such as costs or interests and one-offs, after which you get the income before taxes, and then you deduct the taxes, and then you get the net income. So I'll give an example. If net income is 200, revenue is 200, and the cost of goods being produced is 80, then you deduct that from 200, so that makes $120. If then the cost of the operating costs, right? Yes, the operating expenses. Then you deduct the operating expenses, and if they are, let's say, $50, then you deduct them further. So 120 minus 50 is 70, and then you have the non-operating items, such as one-offs, interest, and other costs. If they are $5, then you further deduct them, so that makes $65. And then if tax is 20%, then it's $13. Then you do 65 minus 12, and that makes 13, sorry, and that makes $52. Okay, one more time. The P&L statement is also called an income statement, and is there to show a company's profit, revenue, and costs, right? Revenue, costs, and expenses, not profit. Revenue, costs, and expenses within a certain amount, within a certain period of time, to show its profitability. You start out with the top line revenue, which are sales and income. Sales or income, and then you deduct the cost of goods that are being sold. So cost of goods being sold, and then you get gross profit, and then you deduct the operating expenses, after which you get the earnings before interest and taxes, and then you deduct the non-operating items, such as one-offs, interests and costs, other costs, after which you get the income before taxes, and then you deduct the taxes, and then you get the net income. So as an example, if a company has a revenue of $200 and the cost of goods being produced is $80, then you deduct $80 of 200, and you get $120. If then the production expenses, operating expenses, if then the operating expenses are, for example, $50, then you further deduct them. So 120 minus 50 is $70. So that's the earnings before interest and taxes. And then if the non-operating items total $5, you do 70 minus $5 is $65, which is, then you get the income before taxes. Then if taxes are 20%, then 20% of $65 is $13. Then you do 65 minus 13 is $52, and that's your net income. So income, costs, and expenses, revenues, costs, and expenses, operating expenses, non-operating items. Okay, I think I might, with a piece of paper, I can do it. Without, I can probably get a long way. We're gonna read through a whole bunch of words and then just pray, basically. Essentially, that's the enormous trick that I have, which is not a big trick, is it? There are some few medical terms. Respiratory system, overestimate. Appropriate. Okay. Saliva. Excrement. Rodents. Oh, internal bleeding. Fatigue. Mix up. Rarely seen. And abdomen. Okay. 心肺功能。Appropriate. This one I didn't know. 缝隙。缝隙。Saliva is 唾液。Not fermentation. 排泄物。Rodent is 啮齿动物。尿液。粪便或打粉。Internally 内出血。那就是疲劳。不高。能见。腹部。 Now this one, the next one, 缝隙, that one I really didn't know. The rest, like been a little while, so to say. But this one, I I have seen both characters, but I can't recall that I saw them in combination. Three, right? Yes, slowly. Mm, yeah, yeah. Ah, that's how you write it. But yeah. Mm. 疲劳. Mm. All right, so that was that. I think that part is done. Let's do one. So P&L statement or an income statement is a statement that shows um, the costs, revenue, and what is it? What's the one? Okay. Okay. The revenues, costs, and expenses over a period of time in order to show company's profitability. So it starts with the top line revenue, which are sales and income, and then you deduct the cost of goods that they're being produced, and then you get gross profit, gross income, gross profit. You get gross profit. Then you deduct the operating expenses. The operating expenses, so cost of selling, R&D, and administrative costs, for example. And then you get the earnings before interest and taxes. The earnings before interest and taxes. Then you deduct non-performing items, right? Non-operating items. Come on, if you operate non-operating items, which are one-offs, costs, and interests, and then you will get the income before tax. So then, naturally, you deduct tax, and then you get the net income. And so, as an example, if, for example, revenue is $200 and the cost of goods being produced is $80, then you deduct them, then you get $120, which is gross profit. And then if you deduct, if the operating costs are $50, then you deduct them further. 120 minus 50 is $70, which is your income before interest, your earnings before interest and taxes. And then you deduct the non-operating items, which in this case will be, we said it's $5. So 70 minus 5 is 65, and those are your earnings before taxes. And then if taxes are 20%, the taxes will be $13, and then 65 minus 13 is 52, and then 52 will be your net income. Almost, right? Almost.现金流量表，是损益表。Theoretical profit 什么表？This is really not very high on the list. Income statement, theoretical profit, cash flow statement, cash moving in and out, measuring real-time liquidity, cash moving three core areas, operating activities, investing activities, financing, operating activities from daily business, sales, inventory, investing activities, and long-term assets, and financing activities, exchange funding, loans, stock, dividends. Bottom line, positive cash flow, negative cash flow, losing those companies survival. 现金流量表 （income statement） 收益表 （vertical profit） 流恩上的利润 （to measure 衡量 ）real-time liquidity 即时流动性 （cash movement 现金流动 ）operating activities 营运活动 （daily business 日常业务营运）就是销售 （inventory 库存 ）investing activities 投资型活动。投资行动翻译成金融行动 long term 是长期资产 equipment 设备 property 房地产 funders 资金提供投资者就好了 loans 贷款stock issue 是发行股票 dividends 是股利分配 OK 待会来的呢股利分配股利分配 I got some monstrous energy. Really fun pay. Bottom line. 归根结底 positive cash flow 正向现金流动 upper looks of paper 账面上直上的获利状况 to track 追踪 core areas 核心领域该进行现金往来。A balance sheet, one of the most crucial, shows financial conditions at the point in time. Financial health check report lists resources, debts, net assets attributable to shareholders, assets or liabilities plus equity. Quickly assess short-term solvency, financial risk level, and operational liquidity efficiency. Whatever that is. Balance sheet 资产负债表 financial statement 财务报表financial condition 财务状况 financial health check report 财务的健康检查报告 comprehensively listing 全面列出可以说是资产的负债 net assets 净资产吧 I forgot that attributable to shareholders 股东应占净资产而且资产 liabilities 负债 equity 权益 by examining is 透过检视 to assess is 评估 short-term solvency 短期偿债短期偿债 financial risk 财务风险来水平了水平 I don't think 水平 is that good operational liquidity efficiency 营运与流动性效率这个部分围绕equation 是等式或程式 所以是资产是负债加 equity 权益。Next, this one was long. I really hope you know. It was easy though, but it was long. Financial consolidation. Financial consolidation is for merging financial accounts. A parent company plus subsidiaries into a single comprehensive set of reports provides a unified view of an entire entity instead of fragmented pieces. To investors, regulators, and customers, consolidation will happen when a party has more than 50% of a stake in another party, or less than 50% but a controlling interest. Then might also be required. Public companies have to adhere to GAAP or IFRS when they publish internationally. It's not allowed to move assets and liabilities between entities. It's a vital practice to represent the true scale of a company, and it provides tax and regulatory advantages. Say that. Now the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. 息税折旧摊销前利润 a financial metric. Yeah, okay. EBITDA is a financial metric. How much dollar comes from the core business and remove certain accounting and financial items. So EBITDA is the net income plus taxes plus interest. Interest plus depreciation plus amortization. So there's operating income plus depreciation plus amortization. It's easy to compare companies, no differences in tax or that, and highlights operating performance. Limitations are that it does not consider dollar outflows to maintain assets and sometimes overstates a company's true profitability. So the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, 息税折旧摊销前利润 financial rating 一项财务指标 financial metric 一项财务指标 ，core business operation 核心业务 ，tax structure 税率结构、税制结构 ，debt 负债负担 ，real cash outflows needed to maintain assets 维持投资所需的持续现金流出 ，true profitability 真实获利能力。depreciation 折旧 amortization 摊销二人受益 high operating performance 凸显营运表现。Owner's equity statement Owner's equity 的股东权益表，那个股东权益 beginning capital 财务，起初啦，起初资本，比如说提款 ending capital 期末资，资本 ending capital 期末资本 business owners 企业主 the company's ownership value 公司所有权价值 overall financial position 整体财务状况 equity statement 这是股东权益表 flow into 流转 to be incurred investor 彼此关联且相互影响 Owner's equity statement shows how equity changes during a specific accountancy period. Beginning capital plus investments plus net income minus withdrawals is the ending capital, usually after incoming statement. And helps business owners, investors, and lenders to understand changes in ownership value and their overall financial position. And the income statement, income, equity statement, and equity balance sheet, therefore all three are interconnected 财务报表。Profit and loss statement. All right. This is going to be a bit of a disaster. But yeah, I mean, I don't really care, obviously. Right? It's not that I control my life, right? Everyone is allowed to write on blogs, so to say, apart from me, right? When I write something, the smart people are gonna have opinions. And when you on the first line you write, if you don't like it, don't read it, then they don't look at it. Then they don't listen to that because they're the smart people. If that happens in your life, you're not gonna care about a stupid exam. However, I have to do this. Well, they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. Yeah, but it's a bit. I should have started earlier. I'm a bit late now. It's going to be a little bit of a disaster. Let's say my own part one more time. I'm pretty sure you can use. No one ever does this on top of their head. No, I mean only after you've been doing this for like 10 years or. Okay, so profit and loss statement is also called an income statement. And it shows the revenue costs and expenses of a company within a certain period of time to show its profitability. It starts with top line revenue, which is income and sell. And then first what you deduct, so to get in the end the net income, the first what you deduct is the cost of the goods that are being produced, which leads to gross profit. And then you continue by deducting the operating expenses. It's the same thing, operating expenses, which are R&D, for example, administrative expenses and other costs concerned with selling. And then you get the earnings before interest and taxes. There's a tax. Then you deduct the non-operating items such as one-offs, interest and costs, other interest and costs. After which you get the income before tax, and then you deduct tax, and then in the end you will get the net income. So, for example, if you have a company and its revenue is $200, then and the cost of goods being produced is $80, then you deduct 80 from 200, which equals 120. If then production, the running expenses, the operating expenses, if they, for example, are $50, then you deduct them further. So 120 is minus 50 is 70. $70 and then $70, and then if so then you get the earnings before interest. So $70 will be your earnings before interest and taxes. And then if you if you set the non-operating items at, for example, $5, then 70 minus $5 is $65. Then if taxes are 20%, then it will be $13. Then you do 65 minus 13 is 52. And that will be your net income. That would be your net income. So yeah. Yeah. Revenue, income, and expenses, right? Revenue, cost, expense. Revenue, cost, expense. It's approximately it, no? Not too bad, right? Oh, I'm watching I'm watching some workout thing right now during my break. You can't see it, but I'm watching some workout. Which, it's not too bad, right? Alright, I was just doing some nonsense on my phone. Like literally nonsense. Because when you live my life, you get spammed with the most ridiculous things. They have like, it's really cool. It's like they have like a whole army of like, not really an army, of course, but they have like a whole like, at least like floor of like computer freaks basically somewhere, and it's pretty cool. They're like spamming some of those fake social media things only with how positive everyone is about Taiwan. It's really interesting. I mean, it really shows something about about narcissism in general. Narcissism. Which is a very strange flex, isn't it? Understandable, I guess, but like. I mean, yeah, right. Okay, I did a bit of prep. My exams start in like 2 hours. I think I leave it up to this. I need to shower, blah blah blah. Then I go there, have some breakfast, to read a bit more, right? And then I don't know. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I've given it like not my best shot, but I tried. Can't do more than that. I could have started earlier. That I could have done. Probably should have done. Right? I should have started a bit earlier. Okay, but I didn't. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good one. Bye bye.